Greetings, shalom everybody. Welcome to House Discipleship Institute. I'm your host, Elder Josh Malara, bringing you another Intune with the Triune. So first and foremost, I want to thank Yahuah for giving me this time and opportunity to speak to you, to esteem you greater than myself. If you see me looking back and forth, that's because I'm both operating the camera and I'm also operating the broadcasting system. But I thank you, Yahuah, because he's given me the task to learn how to multitask, so I can flow in him and I can flow with him and I can flow through him. So just want to thank Yahuah for that, because I had to learn that the easy way and the hard way. And I want to thank my apostle Shiliak, Robert Gonzalez, and Prophet Virginia Gonzalez for establishing me and helping me be sent out to do this. And, it's not an easy task to do something like this, because it requires a lot of denying self-denial, but most of all, it's a lifestyle of discipleship training. It's not a lifestyle of self-seeking, self-gratification, self-justification. It's always a part of self-denial, always learning how to hear the voice of Yahuah and the soft, still voice. It's never about how to hear him in the crowds of multitude saying, hey, you can get it. Because remember, you hear the crowd and the multitude, you're going to hear the wrong voice, because the power of suggestion can be, which is what the enemy does, is he gives you suggestion to make you think about the course and the action and where your destination is. Amen. So first and foremost, you have to learn how to hear his voice. And I don't want to go too much into that, because that's going to be for another In Tune with the Triune, because you got to learn how to pace him and not race Yahuah. It's very easy to see something that he's giving you as a gift, but then there's a different transaction that you got to learn how to have character when the gift is done with. Once the distribution of what he's giving you is complete and made whole, you got to learn how to have his character, his nature, and his function. So with that being said, we just want to thank each and every one of you just for staying in tune with me. We just want to once again just continue just to say thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. We have every Monday we have Let Isha Speak, where she encourages the women of Yahuah, the daughters of Yahuah, the aunties, the grandmothers. She's always encouraging each and every one of the daughters of the Most High, even us men, with the Psalms, and it's very powerful. It's very beautiful. So women, daughters, Ishas, if you need encouragement, I say, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button, because Isha will speak as a vessel, as an open vessel from Yahuah to your heart. Amen. And if you want to become a threat, a terror, and a revenger, and learn how to establish right ruling and kingdom truth here on this earth, I suggest and recommend that you can watch our TerrorBites with your host, Apostle Shiliak, Robert Gonzalez, or as we know in Hebrew as Menekem Yah, is a continuous flow of thought with the Father, which is, every time I hear a TerrorBite, it's just an eye-opening. I can hear one from 2 years ago, and then I can catch a revelation and say, wow, I never saw the Father in that aspect. Well, you know what? The Father is always opening up gates, doors, and then the veils and windows. So stay tuned and continue to watch, because every Saturday from 12 to 1 we have our Sabbath live stream. So that's where you'll see the Father and how you're going to do your best, or when he's going to do his best when you decide to rest in him. Amen. So with that being said, I was speaking last week in regards to Merismos. And what's interesting, I went on a little bit about, and I was just talking about Abraham and how he set the sacrifices in order, and how he was setting them up, the heifer, the goat, and the she-goat, the heifer, and the young ram, and he set them against himself. So fathers gather the sacrificial items, if I can say that, to come into another realm, another state, to live and have their being in Yahuah. So what's interesting is that we can't do this because we have to have the faith realm. But what's always going to be and continuous fight is called the soulish man. So remember this. I wanted to continue to go off in this. So faith is the realm of spirit. If the soul man, meaning we all have our suke, our beast nature, is in control and not the ruach man, or ruach is Hebrew for spirit. So if the soul man is in control of your life, that is going to hinder the condition of the force of faith. Unbelief is the soulish realm, and if you can get into the heart of a man, it will negate or block the force of Yahuah, for faith is of the ruach, the spirit. So, and he said, if you go to Genesis 15 verses 7 through 8, let's turn there. So this is the covenant that the Father was going to make with Abraham. So before the Father made a covenant with Abraham, he had to make a covenant with Abram, which meant nothing. So we asked a similar. So when we read Genesis chapter 15, verses 7 through 8, but I'm going to start at verse 5. Then he brought him out and said, "Look now toward heaven." So, well, let's way backtrack because I think I didn't go into the text right. So let's start at verse 1. After these things, the word of Yahuah came to Abram in a vision, saying, "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward." But Abram said, "Yahuah Elohim, what will you give me, seeing as I go childless, and heir of my house is Eleazar of Damascus?" And Abraham said, "Look, you have given me no offspring. Indeed, one born in my house is my heir." And behold, the word of Yahuah came to him, saying, "This one shall be your heir, but one will come from your own body shall be your heir." Whew, feel the Merismos right here. So what I'm trying to show you is that when we learn to Merismos, when we learn to set the order of the sacrifices about to come into existence, and we're about to become the Word made flesh and become a living sacrifice, you're going to be able to see that the next step is Merismos. You have to learn to separate your soul from your spirit. Can you give me a towel, please? Please? Yeah. And turned on these new lights and I forgot. Yeah. Then I'm sweating. So, what's going on right now is that the Father's trying to show you something, and what he's trying to show you is the Merismos. See, we go on into the realm of in believing that we're going to inherit the land. We're going to have an inheritance. But we can't have an inheritance first without going through the Merismos. But yet, even before going through a Merismos, we got to learn that we got to have a sacrifice in order to go into the Merismos and then go into the promise. So, what's going on right now is that you see right here, the Father's about to make a covenant with Abraham. However, there needs to be a sacrifice. So now let's go to verse 5. And then he brought him outside and said, "Look now toward heaven and count the stars, if you are able to number them." And he said to him, "So shall your descendants be." And he believed in Yahuah, and he accounted it to him for righteousness. Then he said to him, "I am Yahuah, who brought you out of Ur of Chaldeans, to give you this land to inherit." And he said, "Yahuah, my Elohim, shall I know that I will inherit it? How shall I know that I will inherit it?" Verse 9. So he said to him, "Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, and a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon." So, this is the sacrifices about to take place. So, we asked Yahuah the similar question: how can we know how we're going to experience what Yahuah has for me when we walk in his provision? Well, in this life, to be honest with you, some of you have gone into the wilderness countless of times, and you never were able to come into a place of rest. You never came into a place of Bethlehem where you met the high priest, the order of Melchizedek, who has no beginning nor no end. So you didn't go into the proper house of the Father because you were led by your own soul to go into the house of the multitude, to go into the house of the congregation and listen to what everybody else has to say, but we never listen to what the Father says. The Father's always going to speak to you, but he's going to speak to you in a soft, still voice. Elijah, when he went into the mountains, he heard the thunders, he heard the earthquakes. The Father was not in those. He was in the soft, still voice. So when we learn to come into the realm of what the Father's going to say, we got to learn to be still and know that he is Yahuah. Whew. I know what I'm saying because I won't forget this time. I had to learn how to be still. When I was 16 years old, I locked my room up and I said, you know what? There's nothing to do. I don't want to play games. I even didn't want to read the Bible. I just said, I want to pray right now. I was on my knees praying for 2 hours straight until coming into like, I guess, I don't know what time in the second hour, then I started to feel a shift and I quiet myself. I said, somebody's here. And then this is when the Father started to reveal himself, and he put his right hand on my head and then his left hand on my shoulder right here. And then I didn't hear nothing, but I felt him right there. And I said, Father, I'm seeking you, and I'm desiring to seek you even more. There has to be a sacrifice. Like I said, this lifestyle of discipleship training isn't for the crowd. It isn't for the multitude. It's only for those who want to rule and reign by restoring Yahushua's original name. What is his son's name? What is his father's name? Yahuah and Yahushua. Yahuah means salvation. Yahushua means salvation sent. Are you sent or are you set? Whew. Now, we see the story of Abraham, that Yahuah did not leave it all just hanging on emunah, faith. Yahuah, he gave Abraham faith and something else. He gives us faith and something else. He gives you covenant. The Father wants to break covenant with you. He wants to make covenant. Now some of you guys are thinking, oh, you read Genesis, that's old covenant. Yeah, but if you look again, there's a promise about to be made. There's a promise, a preparation, and a performance. What is the performance? The performance of the Father is to manifest the likeness of who he is and walk it out. You're not supposed to imitate Benny Hinn. You're not supposed to imitate T.D. Jakes. You're not supposed to imitate anybody. You're supposed to be like Yahuah. Am I talking to somebody? And I understand what I'm saying because I've been through it. You got to learn that there's persecution. You got to learn how to have persecution become your friend, because if you're not persecuted for his sake, then, well, what are you being persecuted for? For your own sake? Because many are called, few are chosen, least endure to the end. And you got to understand, I don't know what I'm going on right here, but what I'm trying to say is, when you become and have the image of the light and likeness of Yahuah, you're going to go through a lot more stuff. Because you will go through persecutions, and every minister who says they're a fivefold minister, an apostle and a prophet, evangelist, pastor, teacher, an apostle, a prophet, a teacher, a pastor, an evangelist, and yet they're not using the name Yeshua, and yet they're over here talking about you behind your back, they're not real sons of the Father. They're not the weos, mature sons that the Father's looking for. He's looking for a vessel that's willing to bear the burden, bear the load, the biros, that's the word, biros, to bear the weight, the esteem of his name, not only on your shoulders, but in your heart.
Yes.
Whew. Come on, somebody. When the fowls came up, so, this is where I was going. Beros, is that what it was? That's how okay, I don't want to butcher, Beros. I don't want to butcher the text in Greek, please. I'm not a Greek scholar. I'm just a scholar trying to search out the hidden truths hidden in the Father's heart. Amen?
Yep.
Proverbs 25:2. I'm not turning there, but you can look there. Before Abraham divided them, let's go back to Genesis 15, verse 9 through 10. And he said unto him, take me an heifer. That's a cow, if you guys don't know what that is. Of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old. And if you study Tabernacle, you see everything that the Father is doing is 3, 3, 3. 3 in the outer court, the 300-fold in the outer court, the 300 in the holy court, and the 300 in the Holy of Holies. It's a full-figured man, the image and the likeness of the Father. Get there. and a turtle dove and a young pigeon, and he took unto them all these things and divided them in the midst and laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. The birds he divided he not. Before Abraham divided them, they were each one animal. When he laid them out, there were 2 pieces of each animal. The purpose of the sacrifice was Yahuah cutting covenant in reality. What did I say? Before you get into the realm of the Merismos, and even before getting into the inheritance, to the promised land, the inheritance, you got to learn there's the Merismos and then there's the sacrifice. You got to make sacrifice, but the Father's saying, are you willing to make covenant with me first? Do you want to know who I am? And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. Here's the thing, verse 11. It's interesting how 11 means chaos. In verse 11, let's read this. I'm going to read it carefully. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abraham drew them away. You already made the sacrifice. Now we're shifting and transitioning right now. You made the sacrifices. There's carcasses that are for the Father as a tone of atonement. But you got to understand, these fowls are going to be coming in over and over again because, like I said, you're coming into the realm of receiving your inheritance. You're just right there. Yeah. But you know what the problem is? You have a lot of fowls coming in, mindsets, thought patterns, power of suggestions from the enemy coming in and trying to take you out of your walk with Yahuah. And yeah, some of them are trying to kill you, but you don't want to see it because why? You say, hey, I want to be a nice guy, and yet, you know, the Father already showed you, look, you already made covenant with me. You know my name, but why are you going back to dead things? Go to our TerrorBite. You can say our TerrorBite. Go to the one that says, do not let your brother die in idolatry. Listen to that. Study it and research it. Don't let your brother die in adultery, because the Father already spoke through another servant's son, Menachem Yah, and he said, hey, this is the facts. We gave you the knowledge. You didn't want to walk into it. You wanted to hear only what you wanted to hear because you say you're a nice guy, but the Father says, what are you doing? You're this close to receiving your inheritance. I thought you were done with dead works. I thought you were done with the first Adam, but yet you want to go back to necromancy, the witchcraft, speaking to dead things? Come on, people. Ay, ay, ay. If I came from another tribe, I start cussing and screaming and telling you everything in Spanish, but yet I'm born from above, man, made manifest here on earth, because I got to receive my inheritance with or without you guys. This is a one man, one walk, one lane straight to the Father. Now, Abram drove them away. Abraham, not God, not Yahuah, drove the fowls of prey away. When you go through a Merismos of Yahuah, the fowls come, and it is up to you to get rid of it. See, if you don't know your own soul right here, this is where the enemy starts coming in, power suggestion, because it's pleasing to the eyes. Carnality is enmity to the Father, but you got to understand how your eye and ear gate work. You're Shemaim, you're born from above. You're not born with the rest of this world in carnality. Some of the sons had to learn to understand that they were born carnal, but yet they got to learn now that they're born from above to manifest what the Father's been trying to say. Are you a son that's going to be made in the image and likeness of the second Adam, or are you going to be going back to the first Adam who only has the image of the Father and yet is deteriorating and allowing the dust of the earth to become their food, Satan? Who are you going to be? Every time you are dealt with by Yahuah, there is a way to understand how to cooperate with Him properly so you can inherit the provisions of the covenant. The purpose of a Merismos is to allow you to experience and inherit the provisions of Yahuah's covenant with man. Are you a man? Yes. Are you a woman? Yes. Are you a spirit man? Yes. Each time Yahuah wants you to experience the next dimension of your life or of His word, you will experience a Merismos before you receive. There you go. Satan cometh immediately and take away the word. Mark 4. Remember what I said in the previous TerrorBites before? There are 4 grounds in the book of Mark chapter 4. We're not going to go there, but I want you guys to research it and read it and see where your heart is at. I got to go back to it again because I got to check myself before I wreck myself. Because my soul ain't good for my health. And I'm saying the suke because I had a dream one time about my suke trying to overcome my nefesh. And I was like, no. You're going through a Merismos. You got to learn to separate, divide, and conquer your own self. Whew. There's the Merismos, Meklakah, Meklaketh. I rebuke that in Yeshua's name. Somebody's talking witchcraft on me. I rebuke it right now. When the fowls come in to differ the purpose of Yahuah and throw you a decoy, if you go after it, you will get away from the Baruch, blessing. You will come out of the experience with a wrong way of thinking and believing. Why do you have suspicious thoughts towards the Father when all He's trying to do is bless you, prosper you, and baruch you, make you live in the land that the Father gave to Abraham? Stop having suspicious. Don't even have suspicious thoughts to your spiritual Father when He's trying to anchor you and keep you established in the Word. And have the word be set before you and have the word set in front of you. All you got to do is just follow the word. The gimel, the walk. You got to learn to walk the word out because the word works, but you just got to work the word. If you drive the fowls away during this time, the word can keep on separating and laying the pieces. Divided by the sword of Yahuah, one against another for a purpose. And when the sun was going down, Genesis chapter 15, verse 12, let's read that. Whew. So this is after Abraham was coming into, he already made the sacrifice, already went through the Merismos, and now he's about to come into a state of rest. Tell your neighbor, you got to learn to rest after you come after an overcoming state. Actually, tell your neighbor, I got to rest.
Neighbor, I've got to rest.
Thank you. At least one person repeated that. Genesis chapter 15, verse 12. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and behold, horror and great darkness fell upon him. Oh, okay, tohu and bohu. Whoa.
Scared to death.
I'd be scared too if horror and great darkness fell upon me, but it was already... Read this again. I'm going to read it, and I'm going to show you something. Just in the second part of this verse. And behold, hey... horror and great darkness fell upon him. It's funny how it says fell upon him. How did it fall upon him if it was already in him? So he already went down into the deeper realms of his own earth, his own terra firma, which frightens you. It does, because if you don't know who you are and you don't see how you're grafted and how the word is engrafted in you, you don't know what hole you're going to go into. You think you're going into death. I know what I'm saying, because I remember one time I scared myself because I was hearing my own soul talk, and I'm like, whoa, that's a part of me I'm not saved in. I need to start planting trees there and start allowing His word to be engrafted in me, because it's the engrafted word that saves the soul. Now, here's this. And he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And it came to pass that when the sun went down, it was dark. Behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. It's interesting how there's a smoking furnace, meaning a sacrifice already happened, and a burning lamp. That's the menorah right there. He came into the next step, the next arena with the Father.
Yes.
You guys got to see that, because I never would have guessed what it was saying. I was like, how do you see a burnt furnace and then a burning lamp. It doesn't make any sense if he only made one altar. Hello? But yet there was one, a heifer, she-goat, ram, a turtle dove, and a pigeon. There were 5 right there burnt as one, but yet here comes manifesting a smoking furnace and a burning lamp. I don't want to get too much into that, but we're gonna, you know what, better yet, let's do it. We got time. The smoking furnace and burning lamp represents Yeshua and his presence, the Shekinah esteem. Tell your neighbor esteem. The esteem of Yahuah through Mashiach Yeshua came to seal the covenant during that hour. The Almighty Yahuah became partner with Abraham in a covenant, and Yeshua, the covenant man, passing between those pieces, was bringing the presence and the esteem of Yahuah. Psalms 119 verses 1 through 5 says, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path." The presence of Yahuah was the Ruach and the Word together. See, when you go into the Merismos right there, that's the next step, the next dimension to unveiling what the Father's doing for you. I remember I was so caught up into, I'm gonna put myself on blast. I was so caught up into this one girl. I thought she was gonna be the one for me. But then the Father said, no, she's my daughter. That's not yours. You got to remember, even the one that I have set before you is still my daughter. She's your wife, but she's my daughter still. And I'm like, oh, God. And then, sure enough, she, went to be in the presence of Yahuah. And now here I am today showing you, hey, the next step was I was already in the realm of milk, the realm of babes. Now I can want to perfect myself and start partaking of bread so that way I can mature more and go on to the next stage, which is meat. Tell your neighbor ribeye steak. Hello.
Ribeye.
Ribeye steak. We had that, and trust me, let's just say I gained a couple of pounds, and I said, I had this steak that was from heaven. I can pass and beyond the presence of you. Woo. Yeshua brought light for the revelation. I know that was a filet mignon too. That was the revelation. Yeshua brought light for revelation of the 2 parts of the covenant sacrifice. When we offer our bodies to him as a living sacrifice in the book of Romans 12:1, we will walk between the divided parts of our bodies with his word and his ruach. It's true. Ah, that is funny. Thank you, Father. I thank you, Father. Well, I'm going to keep going. I don't care. We will walk between the divided parts of our bodies with the word of Yahuah and his Ruach, and shows us how to inherit the promise. He will bring light into the realm of the spirit man and into the soulish realm, and he will bring the word to expose both areas. You know what's interesting was that I just got a review right here. And I can relate it too. Remember the parable when Yeshua says there's the wheat and the tare, and when the weeds were, the thief came in and he actually started planting seeds of weeds, and when the time of harvest came, that the farmers said, okay, let's separate the wheat from the tare. So they had to burn all the weeds as a tone of sacrifice and then have the harvest of wheat. Yeah. It's funny because today this just happened to me. I was separating. I had to learn to take away the weeds and the trees. And these trees, then I finally realized, I was like, there we go. That's the Merismos right there. I almost lost that revelation today, but I just now caught it today. So I thank Yahuah for that. When the time appointed comes, there's always going to be in our own souls, our own souls are going to plant weeds. You don't believe it, but it's true. It does. Whenever we choose to decide to enter into the realm of the soulish man, the suke man, the Greek word for the beast nature that doesn't want nothing of the Father, a weed is going to grow. And then when we decide for our nefesh, the realm of our own souls that wants the part of the Father, will grow up to be mature and reap a fruit that remains.
Yeah.
So we got to learn that's the covenant of the Father right there. The covenant sign was circumcision of male flesh. So if you look at the Old Testament, you wanted to be in the covenant with the Father, you had to learn to circumcise the foreskin of a man's penis, and that's how you become into the covenant with the Father. But today, tell your neighbor, today, we can circumcise our hearts to have a covenant with the Father, for him to be the hidden man of our hearts. The covenant sign was the circumcision of male flesh. Or let's take it a little bit deeper. This covenant sign was the circumcision of the flesh of our heart. The reason was that when the power of reproduction came forth, it would not be touched with flesh in any area. Circumcision was a shadow or a picture in the natural world of Yahuah's purpose and action in the realm of the Spirit. Yahuah's word is the seed of reproduction. When it comes forth, it reproduces life, the new birth, healing, deliverance, etc. His word will not come forth in power of reproduction unless the flesh is cut away, and nothing touches or mingles with it. If you don't know, I wanted to go back and do this, but I want to say before we dive into the circumcision of the heart, this is what's going to happen. Why we don't Merismos. Our soul becomes more attracted to the things we see. That is a distraction, essentially, because an attraction to your soul is really a distraction to your emunah, to your faith. So when you don't come into that realm, or when you come into that realm, then you're going to want to see more attractions. You're going to want to be more distracted more, but you think, oh, it feels good to be here. Oh, it feels good. And I've been through there. I understand what I'm saying. But when we don't go through the sacrifice, and we don't go through the Merismos, we don't come into a time of atonement, guess what? We have a 7-nation army against us. When you read Joshua chapter 3, verses 10 through 11, you're going to see the Canaanite, the Hittite, Hivites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites, all a mindset, all giants in the land right here, that if you don't Merismos, these guys are going to be coming at you full force, and your soul's going to be coming in to attack. Your own suke can come and attack your spirit and your nefesh. And here's another hidden one, the Amalekites. And this one I got today were valley dwellers that live to ruin the memory. So you got to get rid of all the 7, but the hidden one, which is the 8th one. And that's what I can get into that later, but I don't want to get into those notes. I just wanted to throw off, go on a rabbit trail for you guys. But going back to it, the word comes out in a purity of spirit with no impurities, no soulish overturns, no soulish inclinations, no soulish adding, no to prophecy or taking away from it. Nothing that does not produce spirit life. Every soulish overturn or inclination needs to be circumcised from your heart, or you will not inherit. Woo. Stop right there. I can stop the right there and just say, if we don't learn to submit our many-membered body underneath the bishopric of our soul, because remember, the bishopric of our soul, the bishop of our soul, let me bring more clarity, is only a set person for us to be in there. So when our soul gets out of order, that's when the bishop comes to set our soul in order. And then when you grow up and mature a little bit more, you're going to come into learning the Merismos and how to operate that and how to have your soul winged away from the flesh, and then have your soul eating and partaking of the milk, the bread, and the meat of the Father. Instead of going to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you go to the tree of life. What is the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Whatever sounds good. You know what sounds good? Doctrines of devils. That sounds good. But yet, I want to listen to the tree of life. And some of you are like, what does he mean by the doctrines of devils sound good? It does sound good, but guess what? It's going to take you away from where the Father has you. You're right here. You're this close to your inheritance, but yet you choose to deny being underneath a mother and a father. What am I saying? An apostle and a prophet, a shiliach and nebim. You deny those, and then when there's a messenger comes from a different congregation who's trying to speak to you, you don't listen, because all you're trying to hear is a good word, but yet you don't want to hear a life-changing word. Life and death are at the power of the tongue. Those who love it shall partake of its fruit. Just because circumstances look as if you're not getting the promise, and trust me, before you get the promise, you're going to go through the desert. I know, because I'm still there trying to get the promise, because I'm in the desert about to make atonement, about to make a sacrifice, about to Merismos, and I don't want to lose an inheritance and then walk 40 years into another wilderness and then just to get the promise. Just because circumstances look as if you're not getting the promise, don't go back to the world. Don't go back to the world. Don't go back to listen to those who are dead. Don't go back to listen to those you parted ways with. Don't go back to listen to those who try to tell you what's best for your life. Don't go back to those who are trying to veer you away from the voice of the Father. And if you don't know how to listen to the voice of the Father, I recommend the 5 R's. Receive, recognize, refer, respect, represent. Those are functions on how to live out the lifestyle of being sent and set in order, so then that way you can function in the Ruach to be sent out, so you can learn how to be Spirit-filled and Spirit-led, and you can learn that that's just a stepping stone on learning how to hear the voice of the Father.
Hallelujah. Amen.
I've lived it, because I had to paint with Apostle Robert Gonzalez, and I'm like, hey, what do you want me to paint first? Primer or glue on the wall? What do you want? Oh my God. First day on the job, guess what happened? He's like looking at me head to toe. He's like, Josh, you're not ready. I was like, yeah, I am. I got my lunch pail. I got my painter shoes. I got my jeans. Ain't wrong. You're supposed to wear white pants and a white shirt, and I'm over here like, who cares? I didn't know at first, but then at second and third day comes along, fourth day is like, okay, Josh, I'm gonna be flat out honest with you. You need the painter's anointing. You know what that is? Go get some white pants and then we'll talk about it. That's how it is. I won't forget that day. It's funny. Okay, anytime you go the way of the soul, it will despise your spirit. As Hagar despised Sarah. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I didn't go back to the... Don't go back to the world to get it by some other means, as Abraham did with Hagar. Remember, your soul will always... Well, the minute you start going back to the way of the world, guess what? You close your own heart. You close your own being. So that way, now you're fighting with your apostle. It's like, I don't need to listen to the apostle. He's just a man. He doesn't know what life is about. Well, look at you. Apostles live the life of what it means to be tillers of the ground. Some of them aren't where they're supposed to be because they chose to live in the life of the soul realm, not understanding how the Merismos. But I'm talking to the apostles who are fathers in the Emunah, who are already in position to where the Father has them. But you don't want to fight a man that's already set in order, because guess what? A man who's in order knows how to get you out of order too. He puts you in order, he can take you out of order. Anytime you go the way of the soul, it will despise your spirit as Hagar despised Sarah. Check your soul, because some of you will always try to, in your own pride, in your own arrogance, in your own ego. Let me go to these notes. Now this is the perfect time. One of the 7 nations, like it says in Joshua chapter 3, verse 10 through 11, these are soulish attributes that cause a man not to enter into the promise. And I'm going to almost finish right here. One of them is the Amorites, pride, dwellers of summits and highlanders, Girgashites, ignorance, live in the marsh ground or the swamp people, and are dense. They choose to have a diet of listening to the serpent who eats the dirt, the flesh of the earth. Flesh of the earth. Wow, I think that just birthed out of me. The flesh of the earth is the dust of the earth. I like that. I'm going to start sowing seed to that one. Anytime the soul man will mock at your ignorance and your compromise and do nothing but condemn you. I'm going to finish with this. Yeshua, we're made in the image of the Father. We just got to restore the likeness of the Father, of Yeshua, who's the quickening Adam. He came to give life and life more abundantly. As John 10:10 says, life in that verse is Zoe, which means a man did not have it, but Yeshua came and gave it to us. As he said, I lay my life, suke, self-life, for the sheep. To get the Zoe back life. Okay, Zoe, Greek, that's life. Hebrew, hey, chai. Hey, behold, the life bearer, the life giver, the life speaker.
Yeah.
That's what he came to give. Yeshua gave up his self-life. What Adam lost was given back to us at Calvary. Yeshua bore the sin nature so that we could have the divine nature. However, the divine nature is still living with the life of the self in your body. The war is between the choice of living your life or Yahuwah's life. Let's put it like this. Your choice, because the Father's always looking, and he's, when it comes to the Sabbath, and I'm going to say it like this, I don't know why I'm saying it. When it comes to the Sabbath, he's a stickler for those who rest on his day. They don't go off and to say, hey, you know, why are you trying to rest according to how you are supposed to rest? I told you how to rest. Will you rest in me, or will you be arrested in the soul? Will you learn to arrest your soul, or are you going to learn to rest in Yahuwah? Unless you get the soul man dealt with, he will do what the word of Yahuwah said not to do. That's enmity. That's carnality. You're going back to becoming a Girgashite. You're going back to becoming an Amorite. And pretty soon, when the real presence of the Father comes, guess what? Your own soul already parted ways with Yahuwah, and then you start to living in a fear, downtrodden life, trampled underfoot. And that's a part of the Jebusites. You got to check yourself in regards to the 7 nations. I'm speaking mostly to myself because I'm looking at the screen right here, but I'm also listening to myself as the Father's ministering through me. So once again, my name is Elder Josh Malara, bringing you how to stay in tune and how to be in tune with the Triune. He is always the soul, and I'm going to end off with this note. He will always go to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil rather than the tree of life. He will do what he wants rather than what Yahuwah wants. Don't think that you have a good heart. You don't. Because David said, hey, you know, the heart is the most wicked, most deceitful thing a man has. That's why we got to circumcise the heart in order for us to get into alignment, so that way we won't have to have and deal with these 7 ites, the Canaanites, Hivites, Hittites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, Jebusites, and the hidden one of them all, Amalekites, the 8th one. The Father's looking for a people that are going to be understanding how to Merismos this lifestyle, this word. We're going to become the word made flesh right here. So in Yeshua's name, I just want to thank you, each and every one of you, for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like, the share button, share this video with a friend, with a family relative who needs to learn that it's time to rise up, it's time to awaken, and it's time to be quickened in his presence. So in the name of Yeshua, we thank you. Father, I thank you for the sheep, the lambs. Help me to be a good steward over them, because I don't want to be the one to be held responsible for losing the one when the one is really you, Father. So in the name of Yeshua, I thank you, because you are Echad, you are one, you are Yahuwah. So I thank you for this time, and I cannot stop thanking you. I thank you for Sheliak, Robert Gonzalez, Prophet Virginia Gonzalez, even my biological father here who gave birth to me. Every night before we went to bed, we read the Bible. Even when he didn't understand it at the age of 34, when I was just a kid, when I was just a little small baby, he just gave me a Bible with pictures. That way he can read it, understand it in English, and then search it out when he puts me to sleep. He goes to his room and researches it out too. He still reads the word, so he's still held accountable to being faithful to the Father. Are you going to be held accountable and faithful to the Father till the end of time, till the end of till we meet again? Anyways, once again, my name is Elder Josh Malara. Don't forget to watch Let Isha Speak. Don't forget to stay in tune with the Triune. Don't forget on how to learn to become a TerrorBite. And don't forget our Sabbath services, because we're here to help esteem you into the realm of the Holy of Holies, or the Kadosh realm. So in Yeshua's name, before I go, may he watch over you. May he has his countenance shine upon you, and may his face shine upon you. I got to learn that Aaronic prayer in Hebrew. I get so mixed up in King James and then in the Babylonian Hebrew. We're supposed to learn it, but I say, you know what? I'm sticking Paleo. So in Yeshua's name, Baruch to you and Shalom.